Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first edition of Composer Curator. This is Composer's Now inaugural online event, and I am Eleonor Sandresky, composer and artistic advisor for the board of Composers Now, and I'm your host for this evening. We're delighted that you are here, and we invite you to settle back and get to know three remarkable composers, so talented, and they're equally amazing performers. There's a program on the website, composersnow.org, if you would like to follow along, but there's no need for that unless you want to know about more particulars about the pieces. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first guest, acclaimed composer and winner of the Leonard Bernstein Award from ASCAP. Her life merges composing, performance, education, and advocacy. And she is a part of the New York Philharmonic's Project 19, marking the centennial of the 19th Amendment. She's been commissioned as a part of that project. She's a native New Yorker, founding member of the Catalyst Quartet, and active in the Silk Road and Sphinx Virtuosi projects. Please welcome Jessie Montgomery.
Hello, Eleanor.
Hi, Jessie. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well as well. We're so happy that you are with us tonight. And so tell us how it's been going in all this craziness. What's been going on?
Well, first of all, thank you. And I'm just so glad to be a part of tonight's event. And I remember the cold February festivals from years past. So this is pretty different, but really nice to connect in this way. So I've just been mostly in New Jersey, where I'm in Princeton, and working on projects that are still, on the docket, basically. Making time for that and all my studies, and also teaching this year. So it's a busy, it's like pretty busy for someone who never leaves their house, actually. So considering I have a lot of good stuff to work on right now. So I'm grateful for that.
Cool. Well, so what are you studying?
I'm here to get to, I'm in Princeton for my PhD studies in composition. And so just generally spending time getting, close feedback on my work, which is a very special opportunity, of course, to have that experience. So I'm, working, slowly working toward what I'm going to be writing my dissertation on. That's a whole other story. We don't have to talk about that.
Okay. Well, but you're a native New Yorker. So you're not that far from home. You grew up on
Right.
in Alphabet City, right?
That's right.
And from a musical family as well. What was that like?
Yeah. So my dad's a musician. My mom is musical, but she's mostly an actress and a playwright. And so it was a very active and very vibrant time to be growing up in that neighborhood. And actually earlier I got a really nice hello from Henry Threadgill, for example, was one of the kinds of musicians that was living and working and creating, their thing in the neighborhood, along with so many other amazing musicians. So it was a very vibrant, active musical community that I was a part of. So very, very unique in that way.
So interesting. I lived for a number of years in Alphabet City, and I remember those days so fondly. I kind of miss it, actually.
Yeah, it was a special time. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Right. So how do you think that plays in, if you think it does, to what music you're writing these days?
I've sort of, I've been thinking a lot about style or what the actual real essence is of my, what I think like really works and is worth developing in my music, and so I think there is this element though of like cacophony, and sort of and sort of things blending together in a sort of haphazard way, but somehow finding a commonality. That was bound to happen, wasn't it?
I guess it was. This is Caro, everyone.
Thanks for visiting. So that just letting myself kind of go there with that idea of things sort of clamoring into each other, but then finding like the beautiful connections between them.
Nice.
So so I'm thinking about that a lot in my music in general, which will sort of permeate through, I think, a lot of different pieces now.
When you were, I want to get to talk a little bit about some of the things that we're going to hear tonight. And this first piece that I want to talk about is the one that you did with the Dance Theatre of Harlem called Passage. That is a very, talk about chaos and chaotics, such a subject. On the website, on your note, is that the piece is reflection on the fortitude of the human spirit, created in recognition of the 400th anniversary of the arrival of enslaved Africans to Virginia in 1619. What a powerful thing that must have been to work on. Tell us about that. Absolutely.
For so many reasons, it was such an incredible project. And certainly the subject matter was a really important point of reflection that we were all going through together. And we wanted to somehow emulate the struggle, of course, that was happening during that time, and while also allowing, like, telling the story of an inevitable transgression through that, to get through to the other side of something. This idea of the impermeable spirit that sort of leads everything forward. So that was sort of where we focused, me and Claudia Schreier, the choreographer. And this was a really special project, and also in the sense that Tanya Lyon conducted us on the premiere and all of the subsequent performances after the premiere. And it was significant for me in that it's the first ballet I ever wrote, and also knowing and then being connected to the lineage through Tanya and Dance Theatre of Harlem, and that whole connection, because it was such a haven for her early in her career.
Yes.
So I just, to be able to be a part of that story has been incredible. So
super special.
Very
cool. And then we're going to hear another piece of yours, Rhapsody 1 for solo violin.
Yes.
This, I think, also is quite a special piece for you, because you wrote this for yourself, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah, I wrote it for myself, and it was the first piece I ever wrote for myself to play, and it has since become really, really nice thing to share with other violinists and other colleagues. And the sort of the ideas behind it are really, a lot of them connected to traditional violin techniques and solo violin repertoire histories, but then also my own sort of rhapsodic impressions of that. So
right. But you're not playing it. You're not playing it tonight, are you?
Correct. I'm not playing it tonight. I am so happy to share my amazing friend and colleague Jannina Norpoth's performance of this piece. She has been playing this piece now for maybe a year and a half or so, a little over a year, in various settings, and just grateful for her for continuing to play it. And she plays it so beautifully, and he has even inspired some of the textual interpretation, sort of markings that I edited after I heard her play it. I said, you know what, that works, I think, for the long run.
Cool. Well, should we invite Jannina to join us now?
Let's invite Jannina, please. Yes.
There she is.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
Hi, Jannina. Thanks for joining us tonight. So this is a piece that apparently you have a deep connection to, and you guys together are connected beyond friendship, but through music too.
Yeah, well, I would call Jessie one of my very closest friends, and she's really just influenced me. I can't say how much she's influenced me as both a performer and an orchestrator and a composer and just a creative thinker. She's really an inspiring person to me, and I feel lucky to call her a friend and a colleague, and to be able to work with her in so many capacities.
Feelings mutual.
Yeah, so this piece is really fun for me to play because I think we both sort of developed an improvisatory language on the violin in a very similar way over the years, and some of that language it's really written into that piece, even though none of it is actually improvised. It certainly sounds that way in many passages. So I love it. I enjoy to play it, and I remember Jessie recently reminded me of the first time she performed the piece was actually on a concert we did together with Public Quartet, which is my string quartet, and Jessie at Cornelia Street Cafe, and I remember you like staying up all night finishing the piece so you could play it the next day.
The night before.
Oh God, I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah.
It was truly like fresh off the pages,
right?
When I first heard her play it, but it sunk in, and I remember wanting to play it just from the first time I heard it. Heard it there.
Well, I think we better hear the piece now.
Sounds.
What do you say?
Sounds great. Yes.
Wow. Such great music and beautiful performances. Thank you, Jannina. Thank you, Dance Theatre of Harlem. Thank you, Jessie. Beautiful. Next, I would like to welcome Trevor Weston, acclaimed composer, educator, conductor, singer, chorister, author.
Wow.
Trevor. Been a
Wow.
busy guy.
Hey, nice seeing you, Eleanor. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. And you have so many accomplishments and had such an interesting life so far. It's hard to know really where to start, but because you've lived a lot of places. You've lived in Paris and Charleston, I heard you say earlier today. You studied on the West Coast, but are you a native New Yorker?
Well, actually, I was born in Brooklyn, but I grew up in New Jersey, in Plainfield, New Jersey. But my father's a New Yorker, and for middle school, I went to St. Thomas Choir School. It was a boarding school. So I lived on 55th between 6th and 7th for 4 years.
Wow,
So
I didn't realize that was a boarding school.
yes. So it was way back in 2010, back in the late 70s. So imagine choir boys walking, two by two from 55th to 53rd and Fifth Avenue in the late 70s. It was,
Wow.
yeah, but it was a great experience. So I can't say I'm a native New Yorker, although for years I claimed to be because I was born in Brooklyn, but now I do live in Brooklyn. So
Right. Okay.
after all of
Oh,
these years.
yeah, right. But you also have a deep affiliation with Barbados.
Yeah, my mother is from Barbados. My father was born in New York, but his parents were from Antigua and Trinidad. But he has family also from Barbados. So I grew up in New Jersey with, well, basically in a Bajan West Indian household. Hence
Wow.
the name Trevor. So growing up, there weren't a lot of Trevors, which is a very popular name in the Caribbean, but it wasn't in the 70s in the United States. So
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Well, I wanted you to mention Barbados and talk a little bit about that because I feel like that's had a big impact on your work. And I mean, I look at pieces like Flying Fish commissioned by Carnegie Hall and the ACO, and that's a very particular kind of thing, to title a piece after a fish. Um,
So the flying fish to Barbados is like the bald eagle to America. The big difference is that flying fish is also the national dish. We don't eat flying eagles. I mean, bald eagles here, but
we
it's
don't have enough.
we don't have enough, sadly enough. But
Yeah.
it's so important to the identity of the islands, and it's also, a food that I grew up eating. And when I was approached to write this piece for ACO, and they wanted me to write something that had to do with my identity. Flying Fish came to mind because I have a cousin who owns a bar restaurant that belonged to my grandparents in Barbados, and the Flying Fish was on that restaurant as a symbol. And so it's something that is so personal, and when I mention Flying Fish to people, they wonder what that is. So I want to
Right.
celebrate that kind of uniqueness. And it also connects to St. Thomas because Barbados is a very Anglican island. So
Okay.
people like to have their crop over, which is like carnival, but also going to church and knowing English hymns and psalms is also part of that tradition too. So, and that makes it into Flying Fish as well, the piece. So it's a
Ah,
combination of, dance music and Anglican hymns and psalm singing. So that's kind of me in a nutshell, I guess.
fantastic. Well, so you're in Brooklyn now, and what's it been like to be, Brooklyn was hit hard earlier in the year, and to have sort of everything shut down. You're teaching, you're an active professor, so you're teaching from home, I assume.
Yes, I teach
Um,
through. Mhm.
so tell us what that's been like.
Well, Brooklyn, New York in general has come back, but I know late March, I think we forget that winter was very long. So it was very cold at the end of March and beginning of April. And it was really it was really a little scary walking around. I mean, it was such a ghost town, and you could tell that people kind of had fear and they weren't sure what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's come back. A lot of restaurants that have survived are providing food outside, and it's nice to see that life again.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting. It's been very interesting seeing how we as a country deal with it, and specifically how people in Brooklyn and New Jersey kind of dealt with this or dealing with this situation.
Yeah, yeah. It's been quite different here, I think, than a lot of other places. I don't know about you, but I have family around the country, and to, you know, our different experiences of this year, I think are kind of amazing. It's a really very surprising.
In April, responding to a friend on Facebook who, in Charleston, and in April there was little to no COVID to my knowledge down there, and they were confused. I had to explain to them how bad things were, because a lot wasn't making to the news. But if you were here, you either saw or heard sirens, or we heard of stories, and
Yeah.
it was very scary. It still is scary, but it was really scary back then.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, so I'd like to now talk a little bit about this piece that we're going to hear of yours tonight, which is such an interesting piece called Shapeshifter, the Angry Blues Man. What is a shapeshifter?
So I found the title after starting the piece. The shapeshifter is a mythical figure that can change its shape. And in writing this piece, I wanted to write something that changed it, I guess its effect or music or different types of musical influences, seemingly without any warning. So I thought, oh, I know the idea of a shapeshifter. And around the same time while writing the piece, a lot of blues licks started to come to mind. So I started to use them. And so then I developed this kind of mythical hero, shapeshifter, which was a bluesman, someone, or blueswoman, I would say, someone like a Blind Willie Johnson or Blind Lemon Jefferson or Bessie Smith or Ma Rainey, who came back to life and realized that the music that they championed now is everywhere in American music. But they were forgotten, and they might be a little angry about that. So,
I see.
so I thought that was my idea, and I wanted to include real traditional aspects of African American performance. One, the blue notes, but also the foot stomping, which you'll see.
Yeah.
Even Scott Joplin in a couple of his piano pieces, a couple of his rags, he actually indicates that the player is supposed to stomp their foot. So stomping your foot to the music is part of the music. So I wrote this a while ago, and about 4 years ago, Alexis Gerlach, who we're going to see perform this, did a fantastic job. The piece is The Angry Bluesman, and she performed it as if she were angry, and I loved it. So maybe we should bring her in.
Yeah. Let's bring in Alexis.
Okay.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi, Alexis. Welcome.
With you tonight.
Great to have you here. So you've been playing this piece for a little while, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost exactly 4 years ago, just a bit less than 4 years ago. And you talked about my seeming angry that first time you heard me perform it. And I actually really was angry at that time. And so I remember it was the first piece I'd ever performed where I needed to really stomp, and I decided to wear like real boots on stage, no high heels or anything, boots, because I needed to really pound the floor. And anyhow, and it's funny, in the video that you're about to see, I was also really pounding the floor, except I actually filmed this in a barn close by to where I am right now, and it's an old wooden floor, and so the camera actually shakes just a little bit every time I pound my foot on the ground. So
okay.
Wow. Okay. Well, thanks for the heads up on that. Well, I think it would be great to see the video now. I'm excited. What do you think?
That sounds great.
Let's watch it.
All right.
Perfect. Great. Thanks.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Trevor. That was a really powerful performance of a pretty powerful piece. Congratulations to you both. Amazing. Cairo thinks so too. Now I'd like to, I'm really so happy to be able to invite Gilda Lyons to join me, internationally renowned composer, vocalist, and visual artist. She's had premieres from New York, Paris, San Francisco, Beijing, and Tokyo. She's all over the place. A number of performances, on recordings rather, on many labels, both as a composer and a singer. Gilda, please join us.
Hi, Eleanor.
Hi, so nice to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you too.
Oh, so how's everything going?
It's
Where are
wild.
where are you these days?
Well, at the moment, I'm at the Hart School, and the fantastic staff here at the Allen Library set me up with Ethernet, and I'm doing the thing. But it's it's really it's inspiring. I'm in person, and my students are making it go, and they're just incredible. And my colleagues are we're all just, everyone is rallying in ways that are, as I said, they're inspiring. So
That's so great to hear. We hear so many stories of things going wrong. It's so nice to hear about something going right.
right, and it's so easy, and it becomes this sort of undifferentiated stew of because we're here every day doing all of the different personal and professional, and we're teaching this way, and we're creating and sharing like we are right now. But yeah, I had a student turn around to today and celebrate the fact that he was here at the Hart School, and and it was just, I just took a little snapshot, because it's so much easier to hear the oh, I can't believe I forgot the thing and I didn't bring my mic and all the so it's, I always try to pause when the good stuff comes back.
Yeah. My headphones just failed, so I had to take them off. So speaking of technical failures.
Costume change.
Exactly. Well, so I'm so glad that things seem to be going well. And you've been, normally you're incredibly busy, but you've also been very sort of proactive, it seems to me, in this time when the temptation might be to just not do anything. You've written some pieces, one of which we will hear later. You've also got this initiative, which I love, Sourdough Rise Up. How timely is that? I love that. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm excited about it. Maria Sensi-Sellner from Resonance Works Pittsburgh contacted me really at the beginning of the summer, and she wanted to commission a piece to be premiered as part of the Decameron Opera Coalition's Tales from a Safe Distance program. It goes up next month.
Cool.
And our piece, Sourdough, is on the last Friday after a series of four Fridays where pieces are going to be rolling out every Friday evening. And it was a piece where Maria and I had just fantastic conversations, and at the front end, I knew I was going to be writing my own libretto. And because I was serving as composer librettist, there was some room in my thinking for another creative member of this team. And so I pitched the idea of doing a new piece that had a graphic novel slant. And so the other member of the creative team is Chris Lyons' illustration. And so you'll see Chris's art in Hydroxychloroquine, which you'll hear later. But that was a sort of a way to test waters and also collaborate on a piece that I was working on for Modern Art Orchestra's Art of Virus. And so, yeah, it's been fantastic and surreal because it's all being done. Maria's with the musicians in Pittsburgh, and then recordings are sent to Tess out in Seattle, and Joanna in Philly, I think, and New York for Brittany. And it's just it's this new way that we're doing things and we're making things go.
Yeah, great. Well, now Chris Lyons, is he by any chance related to you?
Yes, he's my brother.
Oh, wow. Well, what's that like, working with your brother? I don't know if I could manage working with mine.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty much a dream. I mean, he's a consummate professional. He has a stamp. My brother Chris Lyons has a stamp. I mean, he's legit. I don't think it gets any more legit than if you have a stamp, right?
I know. I think these are the for sure.
But on top of the fact that he's just a remarkable artist and highly accomplished professional who knows how to work with people, he's also so sensitive, and we have a shorthand about it. And I'd say, do you think in that moment where Boss allows themselves to eat grain, Boss might be able to take off like a superhero? And then the next day I see our character as a superhero, and it's fantastic. It's a gift.
That's amazing. Well, and you collaborated with him, as you said, on one of the pieces that we're going to hear tonight, Hydroxychloroquine. Mm-hmm. That's a familiar sounding thing.
So for anyone who doesn't remember what hydroxychloroquine or what the heck does all that mean? Early on when we were getting inundated with information, we're still getting inundated with information, but hydroxychloroquine was floated as a possible miracle cure for COVID-19, and it was floated as possibly a game changer, right? And so we were getting this beautiful, what ultimately turned out to be false, right? It was the FDA wound up revoking its emergency use authorization. And so I explored this beautiful lie and the terrible truth in the sound itself. And I worked with Chris to create an image that I felt was appropriate for the piece. And that's what hydroxychloroquine ultimately resulted in.
Wow, and you're singing on this recording, aren't you? Yeah.
Yes, it's all my voice.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear that. But before we hear that, we're going to hear a very special piece of yours called Hush.
Yes, and I wrote it for Carrie Koffman, and I'm so excited that Carrie is here with us today. And I want to say that Carrie Koffman is an extraordinary saxophonist, and she's also a dedicated teacher both at the Hart School and at Yale. She's been deeply involved in gender advocacy for a life, and she's just an all-around fabulous human. And she commissioned Hush, and she just got out of the studio recording Hush, so it's very much on our mind right now. And so I hope we can invite Carrie to join us.
Yes, please, Carrie. Hi.
Hello.
So you and Gilda, I think, worked very closely together on this piece, didn't you?
We did. I initially approached her about a commission because I had heard one of her earlier works called What You Want, Substance Free, and I was just completely taken by it. And so I thought, oh, can you maybe rearrange this in a format so that I can actually play this work? I felt like it was such a powerful work. And it does exist as sort of a pre-recorded optional first movement of sorts, but it became pretty clear to us both early on that there needed to be new material, and Hush also exists as this standalone work. But we had extensive dialogue, I'd say, in advance, and several exchanges in the process of creating this work. So it was really a true collaboration to an extent that I wasn't used to. And I had asked her out front for a feminist piece. And I then tried to explain how often I feel like my voice gets buried. And I included a multitude of examples, both personal and, of course, societal. In addition to that, as an instrumentalist, of course, I always have to sing without words. I never get to use words. So I asked her if she might consider letting me use my actual voice, not as a singer, but as a speaker. And in one of my early emails, I wrote and asked for your voice, my voice, and every woman voice, and referred to the commonalities. So she sent me the text before the music, and I got goosebumps when I read it. So what she did is she took the types of gendered language that women receive over the course of our lifetimes, and that had meaning for her personally, and then interspersed those spoken phrases with musical lines. So the gist of it is I asked for a voice, and she really listened, and she gave me a voice. So it is by far the most deeply personal work that I have ever played, and I can't express enough gratitude for the collaboration. I'll be playing it for the rest of my life. So when you listen to it, you're going to hear a pulse and a heartbeat and a motivic shushing gesture and all sorts of other things that are included in the piece. So
Well, don't give it all away. Let's hear. I think we should hear it now.
Speak up! Not too loud. Smile! You're pretty when you smile. Make sure you ask nicely. Straight, tall, slim. Smart and pretty. Serious, but happy. Strong, but not overpowering. Capable, but not off-putting. Wait! Wait your turn. Listen. Listen. Stand up straight. Speak up.
Hydroxychloroquine, game changer. Hydroxychloroquine, game changer. Hydroxychloroquine, game changer. Hydroxychloroquine. An Arizona man died and his wife was hospitalized after taking chloroquine. Cardiac arrest March 23, was significantly more likely in patients receiving hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin. Revoked. The Journal of the American Medical Association. The emergency authorization 2020. Alert. Revoked. HUC. Alert. Revoked. hydroxychloroquine phosphate QC for the treatment of 15 hydroxychloroquine revoked. You're not going to get sick or die. Hydroxychloroquine heavily tested. You're not going to get sick or die. It's been heavily tested. You're not going to get sick or die. Heavily tested. You're not going to get sick or die. I think we're doing a great job.
Fantastic. I love that piece, Gilda. And beautiful, beautiful performance, Carrie, of a very powerful piece. I'd like to invite everybody to join us now. We've got a couple of questions and just bravo, everybody. I think, I was just really deeply impressed and moved by all your performances, as I'm sure everyone in our audience is. Somebody has asked Alexis to explain the tap on the small black square on the floor as opposed to the stomps. What's that about?
Yes. So you all saw me stomping my foot really hard, but every once in a while, I also lightly tapped what is actually a foot pedal to turn the page on my music, which is on my iPad. So ordinarily I can do that without getting too discombobulated, but I have to say there are a few spots in this piece where I have to tap to turn the page right in the middle of stomping, and doing those two things took some getting used to, but that's what that is. So it's just so I can turn my page on the iPad.
Okay, that's clear. And we have another question. During the pandemic, what are tools that have become more useful, differently useful, or newly useful to you as composers, performers, and musicians in general, not limited to technological tools, which we all know we've had to spend a lot of time trying to figure out? Who'd like to go first?
I can answer that a little bit. I mean, to be honest with you, some of the tools that have been most useful to me have been pen and paper. Just trusting that instinct when I need it, to just make sure that my sketches and my initial ideas are sound. That's kind of like part of my process has been, and it, most of the time. And so sort of sticking with that and, letting that sort of guide me actually in terms of like feeling honest about my ideas and stuff, but also like writing in my journal and just writing ideas about music and things that I just have been ruminating on and philosophizing about in some of these sort of cloudy days of existential whatever. Yeah, so really, yeah, no, but like writing, just writing. Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
This might sound strange here, but Zoom actually has created a situation where I connected to composers or conductors or performers on Zoom rather than just through email because they live in other parts of the country. And that's something I didn't expect, because when Drew University went online in the spring, it was mostly a tool for teaching. But over the summer, I realized it was a way to connect to people who I would normally just email. And so that has been kind of special. I didn't expect that. And to be able to commune with people across, the sea even, over in England, just because I've never used Zoom before. So that's something.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I have also noticed that for myself. I feel slightly more connected to some people than I did before because we were just emailing. And Gilda, it sounds like maybe you've had a similar experience.
Yeah, and I would say that, I mean, at first everyone's impulse is to try to replace the things that aren't there. But what I think we've all found is that the at your most successful, you're really you're building on it and making something new that lives in this format, and that's just been just mind blowing. I had usually an opera discovery is what you do, and then eventually you do the final performance, right? But I sang in Ken Steen's opera for Opera Harmony earlier in the summer, and I was in the Zoom with the recording equipment going and saying, and the stage director was there, and Ken was there, and it was just like we were recording in real time in Discovery by Zoom, and I mean that's exciting stuff.
That's insane.
I know, it was crazy and so like visceral, it's really cool.
That's amazing. And anything else? Anybody else have anything to share? Performers, you guys can answer too. No? Okay. Well, I just want to continue the conversation for another second. I know we're running out of time, but just to say again, like how remarkable I think you three composers are. Your voices are I think, so representative of 21st century music in particular. And that's a big topic, which we don't have time to address tonight. But I just want to say that about you all, and that you have these three performers that are so committed to your work and performing it so magnificently. It's just been an incredible treat for me to get to know you performers who I had not met before, and to know the work of these wonderful composers even better. And I'm sure the audience has enjoyed that as well. I'd just like to thank you all so much for joining us here tonight, and for sharing your music and your lives with us in this incredibly special way. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to the audience for coming tonight. It's great to have you. It's an incredibly disconnected experience for us because we don't see you at all, but we feel you there, and we thank you for coming to this inaugural event. I want to say thanks to Tanya Leon, the board of directors, institutional funders and donors who support the mission of Composers Now, the team that makes Composers Now run: Beatriz Hernandez, David Bridges, Amy Roberts Frawley, Gerald Johnson, Andres Vera Leon, our fabulous technical director, Yvonne Paredes Burton, and Austin Shattuck. The next event is Dialogues, hosted by Tanya Leon, with composers Andrea Pinto Correa, John King, and Nicole Mitchell. It'll be live streamed on Tuesday, the 29th at 5 p.m. Don't miss it. And until then, stay safe and stay healthy out there, y'all. There's a little of my Southern roots coming out. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
composers.
you.
Bye. Thanks. Fantastic, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.